Good morning and welcome to Market Monday for Memorial Day, May 26th, 2025. Please join us in honoring and remembering the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Today, as markets are closed, let's celebrate their courage, reflect on their legacy, and unite in gratitude for the freedoms that they fought for. Last week, news broke that the U.S. Treasury will stop making pennies early next year. The end of an era indeed. And that begs the question, when did pennies enter circulation in the first place? Well, pennies were authorized by the Coinage Act of 1792, with minting starting in 1793 by the Philadelphia Mint. So pennies were brought into existence, and now they're being removed from it. And this highlights several important points. First, our currency is fluid. Or rather, things that represent monetary value, like pennies, they're fluid. Second, just because things were one way, even for a couple hundred years, like the penny, doesn't mean that they're always going to be that way. Case in point, did you hear the Genius Act just passed in the Senate? The Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, which was introduced in February of 2025. And it aims to create a federal regulatory framework for payment stablecoins in the United States. So what is a stablecoin? Think of them as digital dollars on the blockchain. We'll get into the weeds of stablecoins on another day, but for now, let's just observe that we're simultaneously retiring the penny from circulation and creating a legal framework for digital blockchain dollars. Never has it been more important to be a critical, independent thinker who isn't mired in the past. Perhaps one of the most blatant examples of this has been the relevance of historical economic indicators, like leading economic indicators, or LEIs. Here's what LEIs actually are: employment data, new orders, building activity, the stock market, interest rates, consumer expectations. We're right here. And LEI has made a new cycle low in April, bringing the current LEI drawdown to 17.3%. Much worse than what we even saw in COVID and the dot-com crash. Here's another look at the same data in year-over-year terms. Look what happened every single time that LEIs went negative over the past 35 years. Here we are here, 3 years into negative LEIs with no recession in sight. And one more for good measure. Here's the 6-month LEI figure. Same story, with some scary words like warning and recession indicators added for extra drama. So what gives? How could something with such predictive power in the past have, at least so far, been so utterly wrong? Could we be in the midst of major structural changes in the market and the economy? For example, an inverted yield curve, when short-term interest rates rise above long-term rates, which has been one of the most consistent predictors of recessions for decades. It reflects expectations that monetary tightening will eventually slow the economy, leading to lower rates in the future. But in 2022, the U.S. Treasury yield curve inverted and stayed inverted for an extended period, yet no recession followed. Instead, the economy continued to grow, nominal GDP remained strong, and asset prices recovered. This wasn't a failure of the yield curve as a signal in a vacuum, it was a sign that the underlying structure of the economy has changed. We believe with so much federal debt and interest being paid, keeping interest rates high is actually supporting the economy by pumping more dollars directly into it, rather than restricting economic activity through higher borrowing costs. And in such a regime, what looked like a clear recession signal in the past is now noise in a new system that does not obey the same constraints. We've spent decades in the information age, a period defined by data, by models and analysis guiding all of our decisions. But we may be entering a new phase where data alone can't explain what's happening. And in this phase, judgment, theory, and intuition become way more important. As machines take over the work of thinking, the human role shifts. We become the ones who edit and curate and judge and decide. This is the beginning of the intuition age. And today we'll leave you with, in celebration of Bitcoin Pizza Day, May 21st, 15 years ago, when this gentleman bought 2 Papa John's pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, or a value of over $1 billion today, after Bitcoin just reached another new all-time high. Have a great week.